Yeah, hi viewers. I'm Ajit Paul, Vice President Consulting, Head of Mahindra Cloud Services. Uh, Today, we thought we could take this time, a little time, to share with you in terms of why advisory is an important part of cloud computing, what is the gap that it fills, and especially about the unique impact methodology that at Mahindra we have been using for global customers, partners, and internally. Very often, a question that comes is there's so much of information overload about cloud computing that we think we reasonably have a fair view of where an infrastructure service or a platform as a service in a run and development environment or a software as a service would entail and what it needs to uh, start using these services. But often what we hear from our customers and partners is the fact that somewhere you need to mute the noise and get a more clearer picture of what it actually means and what are some of the disruptive possibilities that cloud actually brings. And also the fact that cloud has impacts in terms of the domain perspective, where you want to use it. Cloud security is something that's been talked about a lot. There are actual fears, there are concerns. There are different ways in which you need to address cloud when you're actually looking from a security perspective as well. But today's talk would more about focus in terms of the advisory aspects. What would you cover in that? What are the key areas that you need to look out for? And how do you actually go about doing it? So when we interact with clients, for example, one of the largest diversified conglomerate in the APAC area, their typical question was this. We are in the business of retail, port, infrastructure, energy, hospitality, and our domains are different. We definitely would like to have some next-gen shared services. So what is it that we should be looking out for? How do we get a business technology buy-in? So this is an area where, for example, we deployed the impact methodology that's been developed in-house. Impact is actually an acronym. I stands for investigate, M for model, P for prioritize, and act for the actionables. So typically it is a 4 to 6 hour advisory workshop that you do at a CXO level or at an architecture and IT head level. It can be a business technology mix in terms of the audience. It's a very interactive format. And what it actually does is it investigates what is a client's organizational priorities. What are the business areas that you're looking at? What are some of the pain areas and opportunities that you need to look out for? So typically in an investigate situation, we often hear clients like this diversity conglomerate or other clients and domains have said, it fundamentally clarifies the point that it's not just about cost savings, it's also about increased operational efficiencies, totally higher user experience in terms of on-demand services that you can have, much lesser provisioning time and such capabilities that you can bring in through the cloud. And very importantly, it enables you certain new possibilities. Like for example, it could be as simple as offering cloud on a pay-per-use basis to your extended ecosystem. Could be your dealerships, could be your agents, or it could be even your own partners and subsidiaries that you have. So that's the investigate phase of the advisory model. In the model part, you actually look at what are your peers doing on cloud adoptions. What are some of the best practices? What are some of the cares that you need to take in terms of data sovereignty, in terms of the threats that you may have that are not managed by the typical traditional IT models? It could be as various as the hypervisor backplaning issues that virtualization brings, or it could be the aspects about the data sovereignty needs that are there, which are very diverse in the EU versus in Australia or another part of the world. So how do you manage all of them? And when you come to prioritize, it's actually a deep dive methodology that we use. So fundamentally, it helps the clients, once they have understood what are the possibilities that are there and how the peers and other domains partners are using these capabilities, what should it be in terms of aligning with your internal architecture, about your own operational needs, what are the ways in which you can look at some of the low-hanging fruits? What are some of the changes you may need to do when you're working with an external provider? So cloud also has the aspect about sometimes being a black box, where with a lot of famous cloud providers out there. So how do you actually audit, monitor in making sure that the SLA needs are met, your regulatory requirements are taken care of, and you're able to progressively work together in improving the service quality? And the last, but definitely the most important part, is the actionables area. So typically here we find that organizations have some dominant platforms. So they may be in a Oracle or an SAP or a Microsoft platform, or it could be an open source or any of these areas. So how do you leverage some of those own platforms in terms of leveraging your cloud capabilities? How do you bring out a task force? And what are the milestones that you may want to bring in terms of next steps that you can go for a realizable action? So like I mentioned in the beginning, the diversified conglomerate at the end of the impact advisory, the CIO mentioned that gave a lot of clarity in terms of what are some of the common shared services that they should be looking across the different domains. What are some of the business specific aspects that they need to look after? And how do you manage in an international operations the data sovereignty aspects? What are some of the new security challenges that you need to handle and identified in terms of the goals that you want to go after next? Thank you.